I would just read the Bible, and I would read it out loud, cry out to God for hours at a time, and I slowly started to get better. But at the same time too, um, there was something demonic that was afflicting me, and sometimes when I would pray, I would start to manifest like you would see in The Exorcist. You know what I mean? Like the movie The Exorcist, I would have manifestations like that, and it scared my family, so that they sent me to the mental hospital like three different occasions, because as I was praying, I was having those manifestations, and it's a scary thing to see. You know what I mean? But it was rough, and God got me through all that. It was a terrifying thing, but and there were times where I thought, like, maybe I'll just kill myself and get it over, like, just end all this. But like, there was something inside of me that kind of just had me like keep moving forward. You know what I mean? Like, even like through all that fear and that doubt and everything, like there was something deep down inside that was just like, you're gonna get through this. I eventually left the hospital, and and just slowly from there, things just got better. It wasn't like an instantaneous thing. It didn't happen overnight. Just through just years of just walking with God and praying. It's just of, like, back in the day, like I couldn't even talk. Like, there was a time where my uncles came over our house, and they were talking to my mom. They looked at me and they're like, "What's wrong with him?" And then they started crying there, because I would sit there. I would be motionless. I would just sit there and stare off into space all day, because I had just madness going through my mind. And they would, they cried, and they were like, somebody, like, please help him. And but yeah, just throughout the years, like, slowly God has just kind of like helped me to recover. Like, if I go back 6 years ago, I couldn't socialize. I could eat, and I could sleep, and I could drink and do all the basic necessities, but socialization, that wasn't possible. Like, doing little tasks, very difficult. Now, when it's 6 years later, like, I've like to say that I've got my sanity back. I have a career now, and it's just amazing what God has done for me in the last 6 years. Not just in the sense of like either of just freeing me from that madness that I went through too, but also changing me as a person. Because beforehand, like, I was just I was a terrible person. You know what I mean? I was an awful person. And now God has like opened my heart to loving others, and showing me the joy in helping others, and really just like showing me the beauties, the beautiful things in life. You know what I mean? And like, he's not only has he saved me from all the chaos, but he's also helped me to become a better person, and to actually enjoy life too. Because back then I didn't, I never enjoyed my life. I was miserable. Those things don't satisfy. When I first became a Christian, I accepted Jesus as my Lord and Savior. At first, like, when I slowly started to get better from all that chaos and everything, I kind of backslid a little bit. I went back to like the drinking and going to bars, hanging out with some of my friends that I probably shouldn't have been. And I remember one night, like, I would always like get that conviction in my heart, like, John, you really shouldn't be going to bars, you really shouldn't be drinking, you really shouldn't be smoking. And I would always get that in my heart, but a part of me was like, I really want to, be around some of my friends, you know what I mean? And so I went out to a bar with a buddy one night, and we got pretty drunk, and we went back to my house, and one thing God, like, I always felt God was very, very adamant with me about it. I was like, I do not want you smoking weed. And I ended up smoking weed that night. We were high, and we were sitting there, and just out of nowhere, like, this overwhelming sense of peace, like, flooded over me. And like, in that moment, I felt so loved, but at the same time, I felt so dirty. Like, it's like I saw like who I was, and then I saw who Jesus was in that moment. And I remember looking at my friend, the only words that could come out of my mouth was, "I'm not worthy." I said it like 3 times, and he was just looking at me like, "What?" And I've had like a lot of like really intense experiences with God. So before this, I was actually going to a Catholic church, going to see an exorcist down in the city for a while. I would go down like twice a month, and we would pray together and stuff like that. But to be completely honest, like, I mean, like, I'm sure it helped a little bit, but I wasn't, free. You know what I mean? I'll talk about the first time I went to the men's prayer here. The first time I went, we all started like praying, and I don't remember exactly how it went. I think I started praying, and the demons started to manifest, and I started to have those like convulsions and stuff, and and like, and then everyone kind of like, came close and, prayed over me. And, that's when I kind of realized about this place. I was like, like, if there's going to be like, an experience like that, like obviously like God is present here. You know what I mean? And I was like, if God is like that present here, then this is the church that I'm going to, start coming to. For everyone watching, like, I understand, like, especially those on YouTube who've never met me, like, I understand that things I've said would come off as, crazy or just, the man's out of his mind or whatever the case may be. But like, I'm like fully aware of how people would take that in. So now you need to ask yourself, why would I get in front of a camera and embarrass myself like that if it wasn't to help you, to show you something that has tremendously like transformed my life, But to those who are watching, like people who are, anybody like out there who's just like, you're really struggling out there, like, and you feel like there's no hope. There's hope out there, man, because 6 years ago, someone would have looked at me and they would have been like, there's no hope for him. He's mentally insane. He'll never come out of that. But here I am 6 years later, I have my mind back. I have a career now, I have relationships now. And I'm a much better person than I was before all this happened. So like, if there's anybody out there that is struggling or feels hopeless, man, like, put your trust in Jesus. There's absolutely, and I mean that to the fullest extent, there is nothing that's impossible for him. All things are possible through God. All things. Because, I'm a living testimony to that. God has literally brought me out from the depths, and here I am today. So if there's anyone out there who's just hopeless, man, just put your trust in Jesus. And you know what? You're going to be okay. He will get you through whatever it is that you're going through.